sky so far, but I can't lose it.
Let's be innovative. Let's challenge a norm. Let's raise the bar. Let's be the elite.
A new beginning, another opportunity to make a statement. Lionheart celebrates its roots with the car that started it all. 18 races to determine who is the best in the most exciting form of auto racing on the planet. 200-mile-per-hour Indy cars inches from disaster or glory. There can only be one Lionheart Speedway Series champion whose name will be etched into the Lionheart history books. The Lionheart Speedway Series presented by MOZA Racing starts now.
To say last time out was a blender is an understatement in of itself. Plenty of the top drivers in the Lionheart Speedway Series struggled in the cornfields of Iowa to get around its speedway. But now, as the championship reaches its final few races of 2022, the title remains ever in the balance. This is Charlotte Motor Speedway, and this is the MOZA Racing Charlotte 200. Hello everyone, and welcome to race 15 of Season 2 of the Lionheart Speedway Series presented by MOZA Racing, live on racespottv and ESTV. Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like legendary ultra-comfortable cloud-lined gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside the booth for tonight's action is Andrew Kinsella with Arjuna Kankipati in the producer's seat. You can follow along with live timing and scoring as well to our partners for tonight's action. Let's dive straight into our graphics esports countdown to green as we count down the ways drivers get themselves ready for the final few races of the season. The championship has been a thriller. The season has been a thriller, but it comes down to 4 more races, Andrew.
Yeah, last time out, Justin, as you say, there was chaos, there was carnage, and more importantly, there was cautions, and it really threw a blender, as you say, into that championship hopes. But there's only 4 races to go, so it's really do or die time for your 3 championship contenders at this point. And Charlotte is going to be just as tall a task as last time out for all of these drivers, because it's going to be just as chaotic here tonight. We're expecting a pack race where lots of side-by-side action, a lot of risks being taken by all these drivers, and particularly because there are only really 3 drivers still in this fight with not much to lose for all the others.
That was a look at your schedule by Next Level Racing. Let's take a look at the driver standings presented by Graphics Esports. Who are those 3? Matt Taylor enters tonight with 672 points, but did lose a fair bit of ground overall as a result of the poor performance for the points leader. Joe Branch in turn is 53 points back. Matt Wagner is 103 points back. Wagner having a solid run last time at Iowa until late race troubles, seeing his chances go awry. Keep in mind the battles are still up for the spots outside of the championship range for the most part, or the effective championship range. Plenty of potential swap arounds from 4th all the way to 9th, depending on how tonight fares out.
Yeah, you can see it's a really tight field there. Back further on in the driver's standings, Trevor Malone, Mike Rigney fighting over that 4th position with a couple of rookies right hot on their heels, and Andrew Wood and Shane Coogan. And a number of these drivers really didn't have a good time last time out. And as you mentioned, Joe Branch, he was actually one of the best of the 3 championship contenders in 15th position. So that just goes to show you how difficult it was last time out at Iowa.
That was a look at the driver standings. The team standings presented by HyperX. Meanwhile, to swap around, Power Slide has slid their way to the top. 1,482 points as a group. Team Race for Sunset. Dark Horse Racing round of the top 3. Keep in mind, Power Slide charging ahead with Team Race for Sunset sliding back as of late.
And that was helped, of course, by the return of Michael Goodman last time out for the Powerslide Motorsports team. He only finished 16th, but he did manage to both start on the pole and lead a lap, which gains you those valuable bonus points. And I have a feeling that those bonus points will come into effect here in this race, because we've seen Powerslide Motorsports, they've been gaining momentum in the second half, but they haven't really, and no one really has broken away from this battle here at the front. Dark Horse Racing is starting to slide back into this conversation just a little bit as well. Of course, we do have the double points finale to look forward to in just a few races' time, so they're not quite out of it yet, although it would be a tall order for them to turn it around as well.
Meanwhile, the rookie standings brought to you by Buttkicker are currently led by Andrew Wood, but that has taken a swing as of late. Wood, remember, was involved in very early trouble at Iowa. Shane Coogan, Samuel Ryman, right on the doorstep, looking to knock their way forward to the top of those rookie standings. But Dakota Maid just in the popcorn seat right behind. The rookie standings taking some major swings because of Iowa.
Absolutely, it's so close. Samuel Ryman with yet another top 10 just by staying out of trouble. 0 incidents, one of the few drivers with 0 incidents at Iowa, gets him another bonus point as well. So it's been one of those seasons where just the drivers who have been the most consistent really have been succeeding here, Justin.
Let's take a look at your series details presented by GSI. Don't forget, the series champion picks up a MOZA Racing direct drive wheelbase and Formula Rim, as well as a Next Level Racing GT track cockpit. And that championship prize continues and will be a major factor to consider for what drivers will be able to come up with and come away with as this championship progresses in these custom fixed setups for the Dallara DW12. Let's turn over to the event details presented by MOZA Racing in turn. Get ready to go racing from America's home for racing for the 4th time in series history with this chassis. Keep in mind, the driver in Road 2 has won twice in the history of this event.
Yeah, and that just goes to show you a little bit of the chaos that is going to happen here. And it's a very tough track to pass on as well, Justin. And that's what's led to having to start near the front of these fields. So qualifying going to be very, very important here tonight.
Well, leading laps very critical as seen there. The most laps, every time the winner has been that driver. When it comes to a track such as this last season, it was Alexis Newsom who picked up the victory in the Speedway Series. The closest margin victory, 1 second. But the nighttime lights are on at Charlotte Motor Speedway. 1.5 miles the distance around this racetrack. Currently, the drivers working their way around the 24 degrees of banking, 5 degrees down the straightaways. And remember, one of the major discussions by our podium finishers last time out at Iowa was about how tight the racing is in the corners, how tight the corners themselves are here at Charlotte.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only 3 grooves wide in the corners, 4 on this front straightaway, but it quickly narrows down as you thunder down into turn 1 the first time. And on the 2x2 rolling starts that we have here in the IndyCar, it's really, really chaotic on lap 1.
You mentioned expecting pack racing here tonight. In turn, how do you try and plan things out right, knowing you're going to be grouped together? Anyone makes a mistake, or anyone slides around, or if anyone does anything tonight, disaster can strike.
Yeah, it's so difficult to plan for a race like this because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know exactly who you're going to be around most of the time. There's going to be people who are going to be desperate, making moves, taking risks early on in the race, and you want to try and avoid them as much as you possibly can, but it's almost impossible to avoid the carnage. What you have to do is just keep your head on a swivel, make sure that you're not the one making those mistakes, and make sure that you're aware of who's doing what around you, because it's going to be so important to try and stay out of trouble here tonight.
Matthew sure to give an example of some of the mistakes. Keep in mind, Tyler Graff is at the top of the practice sheet right now with a 24.041. It's Gonzalez Nunez, Brian Beard, who picked up his first Lionheart victory last time out, Nick DeGroot, and Matt Taylor, the top 5. Taylor doing what he needs to do in practice at least. Here we go in, but of course we mentioned the need for track position and the need of leading laps. Qualifying going to be a very critical part of tonight to be able to set yourself up for step 1 of that.
Yeah, it absolutely will be, and there's nobody with more momentum right now than Tyler Graff in this series, really, Justin. He's had some spectacular races since he's joined the Speedway Series, and he's always found himself really close to the front of this field, so it's exactly the type of drive that you need to have here is what he's been able to pull off since he's joined midway through this season.
A third, first, and third in the span of his 4 starts so far. Tyler Graff, for reference, coming into this evening. About 1 minute away from the qualifying session. 30 entrants currently on the sheet, working their way around the racetrack. Lot of potential championship implications tonight. Keep in mind, 14 races count for the standings. Drops expected to factor in starting after tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting to that point of the season where the drops really start to come into play, and you start to see a little bit more what's going to happen with the championship standings, because you do get to drop your worst 2 races in this series. So it's going to change the championship complexion just a little bit once we start to see what happens there. But first, you have to survive what's about to come here in this race.
And remember, the concerns have to be there for some who don't have that obligation to be able to drive. Whether they miss a race, or whether in the case of Taylor, remember, picking up significantly worse finishes than their consistent margins, like Iowa. That would be their second of the 2 drops, with Homestead 27, Iowa 26 for reference. Think about that picture. We discussed involving that picture the closing stages of this season. But now qualifying is about to get underway. 5 minutes of sole qualifying, 2 laps to be able to put up your best time around the board. How do you put up your best time around this racetrack, Andrew, tonight?
Yeah, so I think you're going to see most of the fastest times are going to be on lap 2 here, Justin. I think what you're going to see is a lot of people trying to get momentum on lap 1, trying to get their tires as up to temp as they possibly can for a faster lap 2, and it's really all about making sure that you stay as close to that blue and white line as possible through those corners on your second lap. But the key is you cannot touch that line, because it looks like a nice wide line, but it is a sharp transition down to the apron, and it can pitch a car sideways like nobody's business. So you have to be riding the rails and riding the millimeters to spare between being a hero and just disaster here.
On Nick DeGroot, and as you can see, is using high alarm for factory backed. Keep in mind that there is a large EOL club tonight. Matthew Short, Trevor Malone, Tony Chowan, Isaiah Dupree, George Enzotto, Craig Forsyth, Ryan Eric King, and Ricky Harden all received mandatory invitations to the club for tonight's running from Charlotte. Nick DeGroot, the first driver to put in a time around the board, 25 flat. Remember, in the draft picked up times in the 24 flats for the practice session. So we'll see how Nick DeGroot sets the benchmark for the field tonight. Already 15 drivers on track. DeGroot, the first to complete their qualifying at 24.4.
Yeah, not a bad lap there from DeGroot, but I suspect we'll see a few drivers come faster. Cody Wenzen just starting his, coming to the line on his lap. 24.53 for Wenzen, so not quite as fast as DeGroot, but we're definitely starting to see the drivers starting to trickle out on track. Sam Ryman, another driver. He hasn't necessarily been the best qualifier, but he's one of the drivers that, as we talked about off the hop, he's been really consistent, so he's a driver to watch for over the course of this race as well, just being able to stay out of the carnage.
Survival critical indeed. You see Samuel Ryman, a 25.6 as his personal best, so he really wants to be towards the back, it seems. After all, tonight could bring the flair of super speedway style racing for some.
Yeah, it's definitely a different type of racing than we've seen throughout most of this year. It's got its own sort of little art form to it. You have to have your own set of discipline and set of skills to do it, but it's one of those things where some people love it and some people absolutely hate it, and it'll be interesting to see which of our championship contenders can thrive under this type of racing.
200, it's the top 3 so far. 1/1000th or so, separating the maid and Malone, 3rd and 4th. 3 1/1000ths to Group and Rigney. Jacob Oster working himself around, gets up to the top 10 to 7th position for the time being. Very slim margins yet again in qualifying as Joe Branch qualifies his way up a few spots as a result to 6th.
Yeah, Branch, the first of your championship contenders to lay down a time, and he's put himself in a nice position in 6th place, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the other two. Meanwhile, your Rookie of the Year contender, he's just starting his 2nd lap here, I believe.
Andrew Wood looking for luck after picking up significant damage in the first major incident last time out. Respective camp, Joshua Chin up on the box tonight. Currently Wood 15th, make it 17th. So line marked it down at 24.5, good enough for a top 7 run in qualifying. Nick DeGroot, Mike Rigney, Jim Herrick still the top 3. Joe Hasser working his way around the track, 1 of 4, make it 5 still on circuit.
24.505 from Hassert, that's good for 3rd here, but here's a big hitter still yet to put in a time with just over a minute left. It's Matt Wagner. Paul Jenkins just went P2 as well, so that's a big qualifying effort from Jenkins.
Look at how tight the margin is, though. 1/1000th of a second between 1st and 2nd. Paul Jenkins nearly picked up pole number 1. Wagner trying to make his way around the racetrack. Down to 30 seconds of the clock. Luis Gonzalez Nunez will only get enough time by maybe a couple seconds to get a lap if he's lucky to win. Taylor, meanwhile, he'll be lucky to get this lap in. Taylor, with 14 seconds of the clock, gets a 25.6 in. That puts him outside the top 20, but not enough time to put in a second time. Wagner does get up to the top 5. Luis Gonzalez Nunez did also just bump Wagner out of the top 5. So qualifying comes to a close, and some drivers electing to play the patience game and play the back of the field game.
Yeah, you got to think some strategy was being played there from Matt Taylor, taking only one lap there. But it's going to put him a little bit closer to mid-pack than I think he wanted there just because of those EOLs.
Let's take a look at your starting grid for tonight's action presented by Buttkicker. Nick DeGroot breaks through for the pole tonight to add a new pole sitter for the season. Paul Jenkins starts in second. Mike Rickney, Joe Hassert, the top 4. It's Gonzalez Nunez and Matt Wagner in that top 6. Remember, Golden Row will be row 2. Expected, that's the trends. Jim Herrick and Dakota DeMay, 7th and 8th. Jordan Malone, Brian Beard, the race winner last time out in 10th. Wood and Joe Branch, your top 12. Cody Wenson, currently dealing with storms, is in 13th. Jacob Oster is 14th. Gary Gotso, Shane Coogan, Tom McGrath, and Gabe Wood, the top 18. Watson survived to be able to get good finishing position last time, 19th. Gavin Sanders, 20th. Matt Taylor put up only one time to be 21st. Well, Samuel Ryman got his wish to be the last driver on time by a 10th. Tony Schauer amongst those who did not record a time, as well as Jeff Hyson. Next row featured up in the grid, Ricky Harden, Craig Forsyth. Scott Rankin, 27th. Isaiah Dupree, 28th in the slots. Gallus Anzaldo and Matthew Shore round out the entrants tonight. Plenty of members at the EOO club as mentioned. Short, Malone, Shawan, Dupree, Anzaldo, Forsyth, Harden, all getting their final invitation stamps right now. Let's take a look at your featured onboard cameras for tonight's action. Dupree will be carrying the Graphics Esports on board. Graphics Esports, world-class design from the real world to virtual. Visit graphics.esports.com. Matt Taylor will be carrying the NLR on board. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com. Joe Branch has the HyperX on board. Whenever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always playing the game. Let's look at your featured onboard cameras for tonight's action. Cars get rolling. Your keys to be able to come away with victory tonight, Andrew.
I think the first key is just making it through lap 1 for all of these drivers. You need to, before you can finish first you need to finish, and that's going to be the mantra that all of these drivers need to have burned into their hearts here today, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be a lot of side-by-side action, and there's going to be a lot of give and take that has to happen. But patience is going to be so important, and the number one key, I think, is just qualifying. It is one of the most important things here, and we've already seen how that's shaken out. So the drivers at the front of this field are going to have a huge advantage here.
They've heard the term one hot night when it comes to Lionheart Speedway racing under the lights. It's one mild night tonight at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, track temperature 75. Drivers get ready to go racing 133 laps, 200 miles at this 1.5 mile facility in Concord, North Carolina. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart, and this is the start for the MOZA Racing Charlotte 200. Nick DeGroot ready to bring them to the green. It's time to go racing. We're underway from America's home for racing. And one driver has had an issue already. Hugo Gallus has crashed before the start and finish line. Several more elected to start from the pit lane. Already, the rush to the bottom. Hugo Gallus has rushed through the infield turf and pulled off the racetrack.
Yeah, a little bit of action here, but it's been a little bit calmer of a start than we thought we were going to see here, Justin. I think the action is going to pick up here in laps 2 and 3 as these cars get wound up.
Nick DeGroot led the first time around. Paul Jenkins and Mike Rigney lead the bottom line. Joe Hasser up on the top line leads that respective grouping. The respective issue we mentioned when it came to Hugo Gallus caused a breakup of the pack already. 17th on Ford leads Pack 1, 18th on Backmore, the second behind. How did that incident happen? Stack up with Watson, and there's the contact. That's Malone.
Yeah, but did you see Matt Taylor also going towards the infield grass there? So there was a number of, or there was a little bit of carnage there for sure on that start, and it'll be interesting to see if any other drivers got a little bit of damage out of that.
Mandatory repairs for Hugo Galvez. Gary Gonzo losing the track already, half a second back, half a track back in fact, as a result part of that. Jim Herrick, Dakota Domain, also the same. But the group leading the choo-choo train around the bottom of the racetrack early. Gonna hold things together up at the front. No runs yet coming. In fact, no attempts outside the one off the launch for the outside, except for back here.
Yeah, the action's a little bit further back in this pack right now. I think most of these drivers are just staying patient for now. There's not a lot to be gained from fighting out too much this early on in the race, but you can see there is one driver. That's Cody Wenzel looking to make it 3 wide right now.
Cody Wenzel did warn his fellow competitors he is dealing with storms tonight. We'll see if that plays a factor for this evening and how he impacts his various moves. This is the third line a bit. Here is Andrew Wood's viewpoint. It's Energy Motorsports Black Machine. Gonna be a little bit of distance right now. Remember Wood starting off in the 11th position, up the +1 so far, falling behind someone who's picked up 10 spots, Gabe Wood.
Yeah, it's Wood followed by Wood right here on the inside line here, Justin. No relation between the two Woods here. But you can see Gabe Wood, he's been fairly aggressive early on, and you can see just how close he was to disaster there through turns 1 and 2, nearly got into that apron. So that's going to be something to watch here, is how much risk are these drivers willing to take this early on in the race.
Speeds of more than 200 miles an hour in the corners. Hugo Galvez has just parked it for the night. Hugo Galvez didn't even make it to the line and is out of the race. Jeff Hyson did not take the green as well. 29 still running. Already discussions of swap draft, keep in mind, on the radio as a result of how things are playing out with the super speedway style action.
And this is sort of what we were expecting. We're in a nice long draft train at the front of this field. It looks like all of these drivers, starting with Paul Jenkins, they're just really content to ride here so far, Justin. And I think part of that is a little bit of fuel strategy here. This is another one of those 1.5-mile races, so if you're back in the pack, you can definitely save a little bit of fuel compared to your competitors. And we know that not only is there probably going to be caution, but another thing that we haven't talked about yet, that pit entry is going to be really, really tricky here with how narrow the track is.
And don't forget, there is a wall from the roval portion that is still there too, where that will be also important to make sure you don't slam into, obviously, when you lock up the brakes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very difficult pit entry here. As you see, two of your championship contenders, that's Joe Branch and Matt Wagner on the inside, and Cody Wenzel, he's on the move right now. He's looking to crack this top 5 here possibly soon.
Gabe Wood trying to carve through this pack. Having some busy times, of course, from JD Esports, members of JD Motorsports and that respective crew from the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Plenty of Gabe Wood racing across the various different series. He's had some solid runs this year, Andrew. But when it comes to tracks like this, when he keeps calm, we usually see him do well.
Yeah, he's definitely got some speed. It's all about, for him, putting together the full race distance in a race, because we've seen the flashes of the pace that we come to expect from him in other series, but he, again, hasn't put together that full race. But the driver who's on the move right now for me, Justin, Cody Wenzel, he's already passed Joe Hassert, and he's one of the few drivers who's venturing to that outside lane, and he's really making it work.
3 and 4 in particular have noticed that's where that line can really gain a lot of speed if you use that mark right. Both dead even, if not a little quicker in a couple circumstances. Joe Hassert, though, out of the draft, now peaking underneath the 67. So Wetson just lost his chance to be able to slot to the bottom if he chooses. Now gains that back. It looks like he's just committed to make his own line at this point.
Yeah, and you can tell he's using a little bit of a side draft action that you can get in these cars down the straightaways, and it's benefiting him mid-corner. Meanwhile, this is your points leader in this sort of second pack that's formed up behind James Watson. That's Matt Taylor along with Forsyth and Ryman. And I believe that is Jacob Oster at the back of that pack, this 5-car grouping here. They've fallen off the back of the leading pack, and that's not good news here for Matt Taylor if we stay green.
It's almost feeling like Talladega. Well, it is fitting. It's Talladega week on the official service for reference. You can see the trains of draft packs working together. The first pack is the first 12 on the pylon. 13 through 17 are currently working with each other as well. They, however, are about half a straightaway back of your race leaders. And here's the thing. They are dead even, if not slower, than your top 12 right now by a tenth a lap.
Yeah, and that's part of that is just, I think Nick DeGroot has got a really nice line around here. He's doing a real good job of keeping it low in the corners, but also just drifting up just that little bit on corner exit, and that's allowing him to keep his momentum up, and the fresh air on his wings is also definitely helping the number 89 factory back motorsports driver as well. So DeGroot, he put it on pole, and he's leading well from the front here.
No one's been able to peel him away from the top spot. In fact, he's been carrying some of the fastest laps in this respective pack. And we've seen Nick DeGroot have some decent performances this season, not as well as I think he would have hoped, obviously. Currently 30th in his 9 starts. He's finished third a couple times, but prior to tonight, the most laps he had led in a race 39, approaching the highest mark since those 39 laps led, coming from New Hampshire in August.
It's been a bit of a difficult season for the whole factory back motorsports outfit. Of course, you're defending team champions here in the Speedway Series. It just hasn't gone the way they've been hoping for. Meanwhile, back here we got Cody Wenzen. He's still trying to get by Luis Gonzalez-Nunez on that inside. It almost looks like he's going to do it, but every time he does, Luis is just able to draft that little bit more on that inside line, and Wenzen, I think, is going to very soon here have to settle into this 5th position.
Wenzen yet again trying the high side, trying to play a leapfrog. Leap by Luis Gonzalez-Nunez. That might be the way to pass, maybe. The leapfrog method. Wenzen is the only driver trying it.
And he got some good momentum there. I think we had a little bit of a checkup from Paul Jenkins there down that front straightaway, and that's allowed Wenzen on that high line to leapfrog not just Luis Gonzalez-Nunez, but also Mike Rigney. So what put Wenzen up to 3rd place, and he's knocking on the door of 2nd.
Nearly got by Paul Jenkins. Had to check up a little bit in the midst of the quad oval that time. Might cost him a chance this time around. But Wenzen seems to really want to lead laps here. Seems to be the indication. He doesn't seem like he wants to wait and be patient and wait till the stops and see what happens. He wants something to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a race like this, especially once the potential chaos of the opening laps have subsided, now we're getting into this sort of more of a rhythm, more of a draft train mentality where oftentimes there are 2 safe places to be in a draft train like this, Justin. There's the front of it and there's the back of it, and Cody Wenzen has decided that he wants to be at the front and be safe in that respect.
The one issue you see right there, Paul Jenkins is getting very tight, Andrew. That might be the major concern in all this, because a couple times Jenkins has started to wash up right down the apex off.
Yeah, the tires are definitely starting to go off here a little bit for all of these drivers, no question about it, JP. And this is where it starts to get a little bit dicey if you're trying to make a move like Wenzen is. As you say, it's so easy for a driver to just slide up a little bit, and there's really very little room and very low margin for error here.
So look from the back and Nick DeGroot. See the run once again. Wenzen picked up a little bit of draft from DeGroot, going a touch up the blue line. No draft this time for the corner. Paul Jenkins being fed all of it. Now Nick DeGroot is feeding Wenzen the draft to try and help the 67. That moves Wenzen to 2nd.
I'm not sure how much he's trying to help him or how much he's trying to feed some dirty air to that number 67 car, but I think it backfired a little bit for DeGroot. Right now, DeGroot is just trying to work both sides of the action, both sides of the draft train here, trying to get both lines going so that he knows that neither driver can really get a run on him.
Jenkins getting arrow wash. But a clear just about. Now the draft back for the straightaway to DeGroot. Giving that to Jenkins. Jenkins yet again clearing on the bottom side. Give credit to Paul Jenkins in the midst of all this. We have not seen Jenkins up this high in a long while, to say the least, in the Speedway Series.
Absolutely. It's a tremendous run early on in this race for Paul Jenkins. Now, the important part for him will be if he's able to keep this up for the full race distance. We've seen bursts of speed from him this season, but we haven't really seen the full race distance. This is a golden opportunity for him to prove us wrong here.
He did have to lift there, so Cody Wenson clears on by and jumps up to second. Now, how does that play out is the question. Joe Branch is trying to play leapfrog as well for the outside. Jump by Joe Hassard. He's now up 6 spots. Wenson is going for the lead up ahead. Branch single file. Wenson back to the bottom to build up the run to attack Nick DeGroot.
And this is going to be much more difficult here for Cody Wenson to get around Nick DeGroot, because DeGroot will have the clean air on his front wing, so he's able to get through these corners a lot more. You won't see him washing up like Paul Jenkins was, as Jenkins gets a lot of air wash through that turn 4 there. But so this is going to be the most difficult position that Cody Wenson tries to get in the course of this race, is this final one for the lead.
See how much Jenkins is getting tugged off the bottom of the track. He has built a buffer over Mike Rigney, however, by 3-4 car lengths in this. Here's the look from the back end of DeGroot. Wenson just not getting the run he needs to be able to have any chance at DeGroot quite yet.
It's the classic distance versus momentum, and with the clean air, the distance is winning for Nick DeGroot. And I suspect it will continue like this for another few laps here. It'll be interesting to see whether there actually is a crossover point before we get to the pit stops, though.
Keep in mind the pit stop estimated window about 7 laps from now, 38-39 laps without draft the fuel estimates for tonight. And when you think about that math in your head with 133 laps, keep in mind that last stop could be very important if it goes green. The estimated window is within the final 20 laps to go, not including fuel save.
It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here on the fuel strategy. I do think that staying out for the longer runs here is going to be a viable strategy, and going to be a way for some of these drivers to leapfrog who maybe are a little bit reticent to go up into that second lane that we saw worked so well for Cody Wenson.
Currently, you're looking, meanwhile, at how things are playing out. Let's focus a little bit through the field as things play out. Matt Wagner, we mentioned, has had a lot of bad luck in this championship fight. We mentioned how he feels he's been out of it for about a month now when he first said those moments. Currently running inside the top 8, though. He's doing similar things to Iowa. Keep an eye on the lead. That's on your bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
Yeah, Matt Wagner, he's definitely been a driver that I don't like the defeatist mentality. I think we have a little bit more faith in him than he does, and that's never a good thing when the commentators are more confident in you than you are. So Wagner, I think he just needs a jolt of confidence here and a good result. But meanwhile, we got this battle for 13th here. It looks like Matt Taylor has finally gotten around and shuffled James Watson out of the lead of this group, and they've sort of stabilized the gap. Unfortunately, that gap is stabilized at 5 seconds.
Oh, look at this. Look at this at the front. Cody Wenson has peeled DeGroot off the bottom, has stolen the race lead away. Cody Wenson, new race leader, as he looks to try and secure that spot fully down the backstretch.
Nick DeGroot not letting him get away with it easily, though. He is battling back, so it looks like Nick DeGroot, he wants to lead just as much as Cody Wenson does.
Keeping the attack up from the outside. Jenkins is trying to follow the 89. Wenson wraps the bottom of the track. Hold on firmly. Approach the pit stop window. Hey, Cody Wenson, keep in mind, had tried that for just about this entire run. Cody Wenson, newcomers as of late, trying to hold firm on the bottom, still leading laps.
And he's doing a good job keeping it down on the bottom once he's got there. Here we see a replay of what happened. It looks like he came down the back straightaway. Wenson looked high. DeGroot got a nice run through the corner, but look at DeGroot just come up a little bit off the bottom, and that was all it took, that little bit of an opening. Wenson saw it, set him up perfectly for it, and it was a very nice move from that 67 car.
Possibly hit the apron there, too, that may have caused him to wash up.
I think you're right, Justin, but hats off to Cody Wenzen for having the spatial awareness to see DeGroot hit that apron as well. And you can see just a little touch of that apron was all it took, but Wenzen did a great job of basically anticipating that and using that one little moment to his advantage.
Right now, we're in the pit window. In fact, past the estimated window, everybody has made it past 39 laps. Pit calls expected to start to come out from various parts of the field. We'll see if anyone ducks in. Look at the track conditions. The track has gotten hotter because of the speeds and the rubber put down by 3 degrees Fahrenheit. So keep in mind that 1 mile night may turn into one somewhat hotter night.
And we do have some pit stops here, this time by Justin James Watson, one of the first drivers to come down. Don't forget, he was leading that second pack, so he spent a lot of time in clean air. But I would expect Nick DeGroot will be down, and yep, here he is, along with Cody Wenzen.
That's a tough maneuver, mind you, to do with the leaders. Still able to do it, though. The top 2 from the head of the pack coming down. James Watson just finished his service. George Inzauto, who is in the third pack, coming in with Jim Herrick this time as well. Joe Hassert is now the race leader in all this. He picked up a lot of spots with the checkups.
Yeah, he certainly did. He was able to pounce on the bottom lane past a couple of drivers there in Jenkins and Mike Rigney. That'll be a really good position there for Joe Hassert. This is the type of chaos that you need to take advantage of because, as we've seen, passing is fairly difficult here tonight. So finding your way through a pack is definitely one way to get positions really nice and easy.
Logan Short just finished their pit stops this time around. Here comes Matt Taylor, meanwhile. He was running inside the top 13 prior to the stop. Look at the race leaders. Multiple calls coming in from this pack. We'll see how this is played out. Mike Rigney pokes to the outside. Jenkins way early. Way later on the peel-off for the purple machine. Jenkins on the send gets all the time back.
Oh, that was a sketchy pit entry there from Paul Jenkins, but he made it work. It's very difficult to do what he did, which is basically braking at the same time that you're going across the apron there. You kind of want to have a little bit of a moment where you're not on the brakes, and it didn't look like Jenkins did that, but he made it work, and credit to him, we're down on pit lane safely so far.
Pit stops expected this time. Here is a look at your top 2 before the stops. They are not backing down. In fact, they are trying to swap with each other. DeGroot trying to work on the outside. Not able to make that work so far. And a spin for Jenkins. He hits the grate on the inside of the track. Jenkins gathers it up. We stay green.
We stay green, but a disaster for Paul Jenkins. Just after I'd finished giving him so much praise there, he's thrown away a whole bunch of time there. Look at what's happened here on screen. Wenzen and DeGroot have gotten out almost a full second in front of Joe Hassert. So Hassert's really got to make sure that he doesn't lose this draft here.
Jenkins did hit the wall while straightening up his car. He will have to come back in for a wing change. Here is the look. There's the grate. There's the hit.
And you can just see that bump, and if you get back on the throttle right at that bump, it just throws the car sideways, and at that point Jenkins was just a passenger.
Wood just completing his service right now. Matt Wagner and several others coming out of the pit lane. We'll cycle to the race lead. Cody Wenzen. For the group. Luis Gonzalez Nunez has jumped to third. Matt Wagner and Andrew Wood now amongst your top 5, depending on how Wood fares out the other Wood, Gabe Wood.
Yeah, but the big thing is that there's a big separation that's happened here with Wagner, Wood, Hassert, Branch, and another driver there on the back. I believe that's Brian Beard. There's a big gap in between, and Gabe Wood might just be the bridge between these two packs.
Gabe Wood indeed coming out in 4th position, so the overcut gains Wood a lot of spots. Or did, because here comes the choo-choo train. Back along the bottom, Andrew Wood says he wants to be the top driver with the last name Wood. Up at the front, Wenzen in the pack. Luis Gonzalez Nunez trying to follow the tire tracks of the 89 right on behind. What a charge to the pack for Nunez, who just so happens our driver profile presented by MOZA Racing today. 4 top 5s in his career, 30 starts, 10 top 10s, about 33% when you think of the math. Best finish? Charlotte, in fact, last year.
Yeah, we definitely know that this is Luis Gonzalez Nunez type of track. He likes the close action. He likes having this sort of draft race where both patience and speed come into play, and he's certainly taking advantage of it here tonight. And you called this a leading pack. I'm calling it a leading breakaway at this point, Justin, because they are leaving 4th through 9th in their dust.
And reaching lap traffic. Keep in mind the speeds that this train for 3rd, or rather 4th, on back is putting up are about the same as your top 3. They are not chipping away currently. 24.5s for the race leaders that time by the stripe. 24.9s, in fact, put up with them trying to settle down for 4th to 13th.
And one of the things that's helping this leading pack, Justin, is that they've got a lap driver that's just in front of them, and it's giving them just enough draft to allow them to put in some killer lap times here, and it's really sort of spoiling the second main pack's ability to get anywhere close to them.
By the way of note, for those seeing several of your favorites, including for the championship towards the bottom, Matt Taylor did have a wing change. Remember that stack up that he had to divert to the grass for? He had a 24-second stop. He's 25th position on the track. And keep in mind, you mentioned the drops and the amount they can take. Right now, he is in a spot where he would not be able to drop this. This would be his worst non-drop, based on that math, if this was to stick.
Yeah, this is absolute disaster, and these are the two drivers on your screen, Joe Branch and Matt Wagner, taking it 3 wide. Wagner tried to pass Wood, and Branch saw an opening and passed both of them, but Hassert gets really close to Andrew Wood there. These drivers are starting to shuffle around a bit. I think they're getting a little bit more desperate, especially seeing those leading 3 starting to get away.
It looked like both Branch and Wagner not want to play the patience game. Andrew Wood, once again, shuffled out of the lead part of the group. How did that come into play? Well, watch as Wood goes way up the track this time, lets them through, nearly hits the wall for it, and 2 different drivers say, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't think Wagner was expecting Wood to take that high line, and then Joe Branch just saw the C's part in front of him, nice clean air on the bottom, and he said, thank you very much, I'll take that 4th position.
Drivers now running even times with your race leaders 3.5 seconds or so behind Wenson, DeGroot, and Nunez. Now here's the tough part, Andrew. How do you close that up?
It's going to be so difficult because there's not much that you can do, particularly if you're trying to chase down a leading pack that really is going the same pace as you. So right now you're just kind of hoping for a caution, hoping to set yourself up with some good fuel strategy, maybe do an overcut or an undercut on this next set of stops.
Cody Munson, currently a race leader from Charlotte Motor Speedway. More coverage of the Lionheart Speedway series in the MOZA Racing Charlotte 200 continues after this.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway for more coverage of the Lionheart Speedway Series and the MOZA Racing Charlotte 200. Justin Brents, Andrew Kinsella, Arjuna Kankipani with you as we get ready to see how things fare out entering the midway portion of this race. Cody Wenson, Nick DeGroot, Luis Gonzalez Nunez currently have a 3.6 second breakaway over Joe Branch, Matt Wagner, Andrew Wood and company as things settle in the midst of our second stint of the race. So far, so good throughout this night. Some troubles off the initial start, but so far, clean and green, with 3 cars setting the tempo. Well, 3 cars and a lap car now.
And I think we've been a little bit surprised with just how clean these drivers have kept it here. We've seen a lot of drafting action, but not a lot of people being brave on the passing. But when they do, it gets a little bit hairy really quickly here. As you can see, the leading trio here managing to get around the lap car of Gary Godso. Godso finally now 1 lap down. So this is going to be the part where it starts to get a little bit interesting here, because Godso, will he be able to stay with these lead drivers here, or will he be able to start to drop back towards that second pack? Because what the second pack really needs right now, Justin, is somebody to help them draft up towards this leading trio again.
Now, right now, they are losing time fist over fist. Right now, 3.9 back, 3/10 gained alone as they passed Gary Gonso, the leaders did. So at this point, what can they do? Can they do anything at this point? Because they'll have to start gaining a 10th a lap realistically to get back to the leaders before the next set of pit stops.
It's tough because I don't think there is a lot that they can do other than making sure that they're hitting their lines well and making sure that the strongest driver and the fastest driver is at the front of the pack. But there's not a lot that you can do at a track like Charlotte, because the leapfrog isn't really that viable here. You can do it for a few laps at the beginning of the stint, but as the tires wear off, you quickly start losing time with it rather than gaining time. So I think all of these drivers are just content to sort of sit here and let this race come to them, see what happens, because we're just over halfway in this race now, Justin, but there's still a long way to go and another at least 1 more round of pit stops to go, if not 2 more green flag stops. So I think you just have to be patient at this point if you're in this pack, to be honest.
Keep in mind, this pack stretches all the way back to the 11th position. Greg Forsyth and Samuel Ryman are adrift 7 seconds back of the leader, 2 seconds back of this. And keep in mind, some of the drivers that are starting to settle in some of these packs, like Jenkins in particular, have the intriguing issue of they're driving with a very damaged left front wing and are still going. Eventually, Jenkins has to fix that wing.
Yeah, he's just hoping that he doesn't lose too much time before the final pit stop, but he's been falling steadily back throughout the course of this stint here, to the point where he's now in danger of losing not just a top 10, but a top 20 now, all the way back in 17th position. So it was a great start to the race, but this damage is going to basically condemn him to a poor finish without being able to replace it under a caution flag here.
Doing quick math, it's 13 seconds for the wing change. You lose about 5 seconds alone as a result of that. That would put him 25th spot, 24th spot, in fact, by the time he makes the wing change in front of Matt Taylor. Take a look at the race leaders, meanwhile. The patience game has been strong so far. But these are 2 drivers who have led laps tonight. You do not expect to see up to the front based on the trends this season. Nick DeGroot, we mentioned. Cody Wenson, mind you, has not really had good luck in this series. He's made just 2 starts under him tonight and DNF'd in both races before tonight.
Yeah, it hasn't been a strong start to Cody Wenson for the season, but he definitely is a driver that has some speed. Same with Luis Gonzalez Nunez. We already know that this is one of his favorite racetracks, having his best career finish a third here once already. He's in that position right now. So we have a number of drivers, not necessarily your typical drivers at the front of this field, but they know what they're doing, and they can get around a racetrack well, and they're showing it here.
Keep an eye on the 4th place train on back in the bottom corner. Give credit to Wagner. This is the type of finish he needs at this point if he wants any championship with Taylor in 25th. This is the type of race where you can have the catch-up moment, so to speak, for the points.
Yeah, absolutely, and particularly with Joe Branch right around him as well. If I'm Matt Wagner, all I'm doing is focusing on what Joe Branch is doing here and just making sure that whatever happens, I'm in this type of position where I'm right behind Branch and able to potentially make a move on him in the closing stage of this race, and then take a few more points off of him as well. But he's doing exactly what he needs to do at this point, Justin.
Keep in mind, game starting to be played as the pit stop window expected to open soon. Nunez for Team Simrace 24/7. Unsel's going higher up. Brian Beard amongst those trying to build off that victory we mentioned. His first victory ever in Lionheart competition came at Iowa last week. He seemed very happy, to say the least, on social media afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a long time coming for Brian Beard, a long-time Lionheart member. He's been close a number of times, but it all came together last week, and everyone in the Lionheart community just so happy for Brian Beard. He's one of the pillars of the community. He puts in a lot of time, a lot of effort, always active, part of the community, so great to see that happen. But here comes Hassert. He's tired of letting Branch and Wagner lead. He's going straight to the front of this pack.
That's more than just passing on pure skill there. That was 3 or 4 miles an hour quicker down the bottom of the racetrack. Is there the potential that with all this time lost that they have been saving, hard saving in fact, to try and make the fuel number, because they are close right now to doing a one-stop from here?
It is a definite possibility here, Justin. Particularly, we saw that some drivers stretch it out all the way to lap 45, even 46 or so. So it is a possibility. I won't write it off for sure.
The last time by, they were running 25-second lap times. And here is the big indicator. The 67, Cody Winson, over the radio, has said he needs to pit this time. He is on a definitive 2-stop with 51 laps to go.
Yeah, 100%. This is 2 stops to go for Cody Winson, and doesn't surprise me because he spent the majority of that time leading that long train there. So definitely 2-stop. The question is, what about these drivers here? Joe Branch was the driver pulling them around for so long. Did Joe Hassert make his fuel number, and that's why he's suddenly gone to the lead?
The alarm bells may start to go off here because, remember, the longest run of the race, 45 laps. By the time some of the drivers get to 45, guess what? That would be 45 laps to go. They have to go just 4 more laps or so, some of these drivers, to make it to the end possibly, but that's the furthest mark. De Groot can't do so. Nunez might have a shot.
Yeah, I think Luis Gonzalez Nunez might just be in the catbird seat because he was one of the last drivers to pit on that last cycle, coming out in that leading draft by some miracle. And he's been sitting behind De Groot and Wenzen here, letting them tow him around. So if anyone can do it, it might be Luis Gonzalez Nunez. But here's the other thing, Justin, is that the pack lost 7 seconds to the leading trio throughout the course of that stint. Can they afford to lose that much time again?
And here's the major question too. On the other hand though, if you end up having to come in the extra time, that's more than 7 seconds, so that might be the gamble they may be hoping for. 47 to go this time around, in fact. And it looks like Nunez doing what he may need to do here. Let Soto go, give him some draft to feed him that extra little bit before the stop.
Yeah, really smart driving here from Luis Gonzalez Nunez. And meanwhile, Nick De Groot, he's come out sort of on his own here. So he's leapfrogged Cody Wenzen and them some. So that's going to be a shame here for Wenzen if he's not able to get back to the back of De Groot.
1 second quicker in the lane, Nick de Groot was that past time by through the stops. That's where that time difference came in. That's where practicing the pit entry can come into play, to say the least. More pit stops currently ongoing. Scott Rankin just came in. Trevor Malone just came in. Nunez still not indicating a pit stop, though. He's at 45 to go. Most drivers in this window have reached 43, so to be safe, he may need to go 2 more.
Yeah, we're right on that outside of the window here. Some of the drivers coming down this time by, like Joe Branch and Craig Forsyth, they could potentially make it, but they're going to have to do some really hard fuel saving this last stint. So Branch, I don't think he's going to be able to really fight, but his hope is just coming out in that big pack, not going to the front of it, and just saving fuel and seeing where that breeds him. Joe Hassert down this time by, but Luis Gonzalez Nunez as well. So this is really going to be close for a number of these drivers.
Now Rafa Major said catching up to the back end of them. Meanwhile, you see the Snake working with Matt Taylor, expecting a flurry of pit stops here. This would get them borderline to a 1-stopper. From this point, off they go. Graf nearly beat Nunez off the line. And now it gets interesting. A good old-fashioned fuel mileage race for Lionheart here at Charlotte.
Yeah, I think that we can safely say that these drivers here are all going to be on that fuel save strategy. But the interesting thing here is will Luis Gonzalez Nunez be another of those drivers?
Trouble, turn 4. Samuel Ryman up in the wall. Ryman with significant chassis damage. We stay green. That's in front of Nunez. You see Nunez already getting passed, though, by Nick de Groot as well. That will help de Groot.
And that will help Nunez as well, because he'll have a drafting partner that he can save fuel behind, and looks like Ryman is going to be able to make it to pit lane as long as he can negotiate 3 and 4 successfully here with the suspension damage that he has.
Here's a look at what just happened to Samuel Ryman. He nearly washed up the track in 3 and 4 of note. There's the wash up there.
And it was a checkup because Matt Wagner came to pit road late, and then I think he just reacted to the driver in front of him reacting to Wagner, so it was just sort of a chain reaction, and unfortunate incident for Ryman, who was having a nice solid run again here tonight.
Brian Beard, conservative entry. Jacob Oster doing the same. Gabe Wood and Brian Beard also in the lane right now. But the chess match has now had 2 players break out up to the front by 1.7 seconds over Wenson. De Groot and Nunez on 2 different strategies. De Groot not in the window, estimated to make it to the end on gas. Nunez is.
Yeah, okay, so here are the drivers to keep an eye on. First and foremost, Luis Gonzalez Nunez. If he can keep on saving this fuel, he can potentially win this race. But Brian Beard just came out of the pits in 5th position along with Gabe Wood. Having just pitted now, they should be looking at that leading pack, and if they can be in this pack here, they definitely could factor in, because they have the fuel to make it, no question about it. They can put their foot more to the floor than some of these other drivers. And Gabe Wood especially.
It could be the night of a first-time winner the way things are playing out here.
Absolutely it could, Justin.
Especially for those with not good seasons. We're looking at contenders who have been close a few times. In some cases, looking for their first best finish inside the top 10 in a couple cases, or inside the top 5. Here's a look at what's playing out behind Gabe Wood. Meanwhile, Mike Rigney wants to go. Rigney trying to use up a little bit of fuel, working the outside.
And this pack of 5 drivers here, they're just off the back of the chase pack, so to speak, right now. So they're led by Brian Beard here, trying to get back up to the likes of Forsyth, Hassert, Graf, Branch, and Wood in front of them. And if they can do that, again, I would definitely factor Brian Beard with his fuel situation into this equation as well.
Only the leaders, just taking 36 laps to go. Joe Hassert, remember, made it clear he did not want to remain patient. He used a lot of time up to push prior to the stops. This is where de Groot and Nunez are. For reference, they're in 3 and 4. Nearly exactly halfway across the racetrack from each other is the separation.
And that's what I'm saying here, Justin, is DeGroot, he's still in line for probably a fairly decent finish here, because he can come out, maybe still steal a top 15, particularly if some of these drivers can't quite fuel save on this final stint. So I think DeGroot's strategy gamble, at least at this point, hasn't paid off, but there's still a lot of racing here to be done and a lot of opportunity for a yellow flag to come out and change everything.
And they are picking up more cars, too. Jim Herrick is in that pack now, too. Here's a look back at that Arab group. Tyra Graf looking for another solid finish. Early just outside the top 5, a little bit of near contact. Looked like Hassard had a bit of a lift, nearly getting ran over by Forsyth.
And Brian Beard has pulled that little pack back up in here, and he's looking really racy on the back of Joe Hassard. I think Hassard's got to save a little bit more than some of these other drivers do. So he's lifting off in these corners, and it's causing a little bit of consternation here with Forsyth and Beard.
Forsyth already wrapping his way around him. Beard now looking to do the same. Beard has the most fuel on hand outside of Gabe Wood, keep in mind, but Wood is under attack. Here comes Tyra Graf to the inside. Graf in the 88 jumps up to 4th, rips Wood away from the top spot of the pack.
And this is where the chess match really begins here, Justin. Do you want to lead? Do you want to follow? Where do you want to be? What's your fuel number? Because your fuel number will change whether you're in the pack or whether you're leading. So it could be that Wood has decided that he needs to be back in this pack just a little bit in order to make it now, after having led a pack for the first time in this race.
Of note, Andrew Wood just crashed out of turn 4 in the infield. He's immediately parked it. We stay green. The other Wood staying in the battle.
And that's a shame for Andrew Wood. He had been having a really strong race, but it all sort of went wrong there. And another victim of just hitting that apron, and you can see it just threw him up towards the outside wall and then straight down, bounced into that infield.
He had his entire crew immediately pointing the ejector seats out. The Zamboni slams to the wall, and goes Andrew Wood out of the paddock. Gabe Wood taking it 3 wide nearly. Craig Forsyth trying to poke as well. Everyone getting racy, 4th on back.
Yeah, that was Brian Beard making a bold move through the center there, Justin. He's turned on the Jets here, and he went from the back of this pack to the front in about 3 laps. So Brian Beard looking very, very racy here.
Major lifting on the bottom this time around. Hard charging up the track for Oster. Nearly taking Mike Rigney up the circuit. Beard now leads this respective pack. Our Graf pushing up off the apron, nearly hits the 9.
And again, Beard is probably in the best fuel position out of everyone in this pack, so he's probably the driver that can keep this wide open the most, so he is taking full advantage of that right now.
All this is while Nunez, you see in the bottom hand of your screen, is in save mode, still in ride mode, with a solid 1.9 second buffer over Cody Winson. All sorts of raciness, 12 seconds back of your current race leaders. Beard building a big buffer now, looking to run away. Joe Branch holds on. To the outside in the pack goes Joe Hassard.
Yeah, and I do believe that is a lapped car of Jacob Oster in that battle as well on the inside of Joe Hassard there. So that's probably not what Joe Hassard wants to see right now. He's probably wishing that Oster would cut him a little bit of slack here, but no such luck for the number 11 right now.
Oster instead takes it to the outside and passes him right back. All of this is while there's another pack racing forward. Matt Taylor, remember, was in 25th before. Guess what? He's in 14th and looking for 13th all of a sudden. Damage control for the 8 as he jumps past Watson.
And this is the pack that's 20 seconds back of the leader, so nearly a full lap back of the leader. And a number of these drivers, Justin, I don't think can make it on fuel. Particularly Matt Taylor is one of the drivers who is very marginal right now on making it.
Right on that with 24 laps, he need to make it 48 on the tank. You need to be a fuel hero.
Yeah, so it's looking better for him for now, but I don't know that he's going to have the finish that he was wanting or needing in this race.
Absolutely.
Now looking at this pack here though, Justin, Joe Branch leading the pack again, and this is actually a little bit surprising for me. They've let Brian Beard escape and just a little bit, but Joe Branch is basically leading the pack now. And he's the driver who's in the most fuel trouble out of everyone. He, I believe, has to go 44 or 45 laps on this final stint. So it's interesting to me that even though he's still pushing as hard as he can to be right at the front of this, pack.
Here comes the lap traffic. Mike Rickney trying to work off the back end and turn yes. It is indeed intriguing to see how some of the aggression levels are playing out. Branch having a lift. Nearly went way up into the side of Rigney. Rigney in turn able to pass by. Oster ducks underneath as well to the bottom. Now following on with Big Joe Hatzer. He falls behind in 8th position, looking to line things up. Forsyth looking to peel Branch off the bottom.
That was nearly another victim claimed by that apron. We've seen it a number of times tonight, and Joe Branch nearly fell victim again. But Branch definitely needs to use this draft here to his advantage and find a way to make some fuel here, or else he's going to find himself losing a whole bunch of time or a whole bunch of points in his championship battle.
Down to 20 laps to go, mind you, in this race. 20 can happen. Ricky Harden now joining the party, looking to move ahead in the 7 car.
And I don't know if we mentioned this here, Justin, but Matt Wagner had a disastrous last pit cycle. That's why you no longer see him in this battle as well. I believe he might have gotten a penalty on pit road.
24 seconds, might have been a wing change at that time maybe. But Joe Branch nearly getting himself up in the wall with Ricky Harding clearing himself. Lap traffic, Samuel Ryman, significant damage, letting by this pack down to the final 18 laps to go. Beard still holding a solid cushion. They are starting to regain the time for the race leaders, by the way. This could be a Yahtzee of a party for the podium positions, the way things are playing out, to say the least.
Absolutely. So the question will be, once Nick de Groot peels away, just how much time will Luis Gonzalez Nunez have to spend trying to save the fuel he needs to get to the end, or will it be this pack here? Will they be able to get their way all the way back up?
There is a little monkey wrench that can come into play. Jacob Oster is coming up.
I mean, he is teammates with your race leader. I don't think that you'll see very much in the way of team orders from Jacob. I think Jacob's play here really is he thinks that probably the top 3 have to come down pit lane again, and if he knows that he's pretty much good on fuel, he's looking at potentially getting a lead lap finish and maybe even a top 15 if he can stay near the front of this pack.
I mean, Christopher Demerit and Brendan Lichtenberg are on their box. I'm pretty sure at this point they would have given him the message, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They know what the situation is, but I don't think that Oster's really looking to slow anyone down. I just think that right now he's looking to find a way to get as many positions through this pit cycle by staying out and pass as many people who pit on this next cycle as he can.
Meanwhile, outside, Hasser looking to now pass by Beard. Well, this is a way to slow things up a bit. No clear by for Hasser. No difference on the marks. Beard holds on to the bottom.
And Hasser tried to slot back in line there, but Oster didn't really let him, and so he's back on the high side again. Meanwhile, it's all status quo at the front of the field, isn't it, Justin, with Luis Gonzalez Nunez just sort of trundling around behind Nick de Groot, using every ounce of draft that he can.
Save, save, save. Nunez is losing a little bit of ground now in the midst of this, though. He's lost 2/10 this lap alone. So Nunez starting to pick up that fuel aggression. The aggression level still picking up for 4th, 12 laps to go on the track. Hasser trying to find a way to get up to 4th position. Still can't do anything. Craig Forsyth and Mike Rigney now join the party again.
And this is where the chess match comes in, is the drivers have a lap by lap a clear picture of where they are on fuel and when they can start to press. So you're going to see the chaos starting to come into play again. The drivers are going to start going side by side, taking a lot more risks here, as you already see Forsyth forcing his way past Joe Hassard off of turn 4 there.
Worth noting that James Watson and Matthew Short, amongst those who've just signaled a pit stop, they were at the 40 lap mark. Now coming up to the 10 lap to go mark, Beer wraps the bottom of the racetrack. There are the pit stops, and yes, Wenson cannot make it.
Yeah, we suspected that this was going to be the case. This is heartbreaking for Wenson. He driven a really nice race, was one of the few drivers to move through the field at the beginning, but he just doesn't have the fuel to make it.
Nick DeGroot a couple laps away from that mark. He just hit lap 40, in fact, right now. He has signaled a pit stop is coming this time by. Nick DeGroot for the lead. Has to come in, coming at 8 laps to go.
So now Luis Gonzalez Nunez loses his toe. We knew that this was coming. Nick DeGroot to pit lane. His shot at winning basically over now, but it's all about Luis Gonzalez Nunez. Can he make this fuel last? And you can already see he's letting Jim Herrick by on the inside here, hoping to use him as a bit of a draft as well. So I think he's in a really good position here, Justin. He just got to make it 8 more laps.
It took a while, though, for Herrick to get the drift. Nunez now working to 7 laps to go. 8 seconds the buffer. Beard, Forsyth, and many more behind them, battling a lot of aero wash in that pack. Several cars nearly smacked the wall.
Rigney moving up, Gabe Wood moving up, Tyler Graff moving up. A lot of people coming, a lot of people going. Joe Branch still in there trying to make his fuel last somehow to the end. So this is going to be a major battle here, and I wonder just how many of these drivers are aware that Luis Gonzalez Nunez can potentially make it, and how many of them think that they're fighting for the win.
Well, they're definitely feeling like there's that need there. Cody Wenson is in front of them, though. Wenson not making a move yet to move out of the way. He's now signaled he'll stay high this time. That gives Forsyth the draft. Forsyth up to second with the help of the traffic.
Yeah, that was perfect timing there from Forsyth. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens here with Wenson. Beard got a little bit tight there through turn 4, and he checked up on the exit. So Beard, who has led most of the stint in the second pack, he's fallen back here. So this is where it really kicks off. 5 laps to go, and it's all about every move matters at this point in the race.
No one's been able to clear by Wenson yet. Down to the final 4 laps. Forsyth now leads the second pack. 9 seconds back of Nunez. No one getting the pace to get around the 67. Who will have to pit from this main pack is the huge question as well.
Yeah, the drivers are trying to coordinate with Wenson, but Wenson, he's got fresh tires and low fuel, so it's very difficult for him to get out of the way at this point. Hassert nearly gets into Beard on the exit of 4, trying to make something happen here. There's got to be some way to get Wenson out of there with only 3 laps to go.
Tempers, they be flaring. Beard nearly flares into Wenson. Oh, wow, Nunez takes 2 laps to go from Charlotte. Can he find a way to make it to the checker with a line out of fuel? He has help from Tony Shelwyn.
He has help, and he has the laps. This is definitely something that can happen here with Luis Gonzalez Nunez. I think he's got this. I think at this point, it's going to take a miracle for any of these drivers on your main screen here to win.
Beard slams the door on the lap car. Now, a line and a tighter line from Hassard. The white flag taken. Final time around for Nunez. They're scraping the walls in the second pack. 3 wide as Gabe Wood cuts ahead. All of this as well, while they fight for second on pack. Nunez making his way right now down the front straightaway. Luis Gonzalez Nunez does it. He wins in the Speedway Series for the first time. He wins the MOZA Racing Charlotte 200.
They're still battling back here for second there. It looks like it's going to be Craig Forsyth who comes in second, followed by Joe Hassert.
Some aggressive fighting in the second grouping, but Nunez picked the right group to hang out with all night long, and it gets him the win by more than 9 seconds, his first in the Speedway Series.
That was a clinic there from Luis Gonzalez Nunez on how to do fuel strategy properly. He was patient. He did exactly what he needed to do. Came out of the first pit cycle in that leading group and did exactly what he needed to do the rest of the race. Drove so patient, so well. What a race from Luis Gonzalez Nunez. This truly is his moment.
An emotional night for Nunez over the radio currently. It's his first Lionheart victory, his first in the Speedway Series. Plenty of attrition from last season's scene, but this season he turned up the wick, entered tonight in the top 8 of the points, and breaks through here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And he's ran out of gas.
Muted celebration only because he was that close on fuel, and that just goes to show you he did exactly what he needed to do, Justin, and we now have back-to-back first-time winners in the Speedway Series.
Let's take a look at the unofficial race results brought to you by SimRace 24/7. As the SimRace247.com machine of Luis Gonzalez Nunez picks up the victory. Craig Forsyth led the second pack of Hornets. Around the track over Joe Hassert, Gabe Wood finishes in 4th. Ricky Hart and Mike Rigney, Brian Beard, Joe Branch, Tyler Graff. Top 9 was Shane Coogan inside the top 10. Gavin Sanders and Tony Shaw, the last driver on the lead lap, rounded things out on the lead lap in turn, with Jenkins coming back from a wing replacement. Finish in 13th. Wagner, DeGroot, Wenson, Oster, Rankin, and Zaldo, and Taylor. The top 20, one of the worst finishes for Taylor this season. Trevor Malone, Dakota Domain, Matthew Short, James Watson, Gary Gonso, Jim Herrick, Samuel Ryman, Andrew Wood, Isaiah Dupree, and Hugo Gallus. 30 drivers taking the green tonight. Gallus did not make it past the mark. One driver did not start. Jeff Heisel did not take the green or the grid tonight. That brings us into our post-race coverage brought to you by HyperX, because the HyperX, as the Lionheart Racing Series rather, is powered by HyperX. Make its premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud9 and gaming headsets. Wherever you play, however you play, HyperX knows all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. Let's head over to HyperX Victory Lane, where Luis Gonzalez Nunez is a Lionheart Series winner. Luis, you've done it. A first-time winner. How does it feel to win in the Speedway Series and in Lionheart?
Oh my God, I can't believe it. Really. I work a lot. I have a lot of disappointment all this year, especially last year when my debut. Really, I can't believe it. I really still shaking. It happened last year in Charlotte. I got the 3rd position. This is the top of the hill, and really so happy.
Talk us through the nerves during the fuel mileage portion of this race. A fully green night. You end up coming across the line with the fumes.
Well, between practice, maybe everybody thought gonna be all together in 1 second. So the good thing, I thinking about stay out of trouble, and I thought to stay and don't make a quali today, but I did good. I did it good. So I stayed back to Nick all the race. I saw some of the guys jumping on the front. Really scary because I saw the guy very close to me, so I stay on the back, I still there, I still over there. So when I saw I did 45 or 46 laps in one stint, and after that the 40 something, I said this is mine. But that's why I left Tony Shawen to leave me and try to save most fuel when I can. And I arrived with 0.8 or something like that in my tank, so I'm really happy.
Well, congratulations on your first victory in Lionheart, Luis.
Thank you so much. I need to have a second to say my main sponsor, SimRacing 24/7, Darren, this is for you. You support me a lot. You give me a lot of shares every day. and this is the victory for you, for all of this. I want to say thank you to Mark, George, to support me, give me a lot of cheers every time when it happens something wrong. I'm gonna say thank you to my mom, to my father, to my family in Chile. This is la victoria para ustedes. Lo hice por fin y vamos por más. I did it. Let's go next one in Richmond. I hope it's gonna be a good race, and let's do it. Thank you guys for you, and thank you for everything.
That's Luis Gonzalez Nunez, your winner tonight from Charlotte. Second spot on the pylon went to Craig Forsyth. Craig, you guys had a stellar battle for that second position. Talk us through that fight at that main Hornet's Nest.
I thought I was battling for fifth, so I did not realize how many guys were short on fuel up front. So, gosh, getting the podium, let alone second, just what a great night. I mean, starting from the pits, I knew that this machine was dialed in all night, so I knew I had speed. It was just I keep getting EOLs for tracks that I'm good at, which is never a good thing. So, it was what a battle! We hit lap traffic right when I needed it, and I was able to use the lap traffic to try and hold them up a bit, which I think just gave me just enough of a buffer that they couldn't catch back up for the last 3 laps there, because I wasn't sure where if I was going to want the high line or the low line with those guys having a run on me at the end there.
Yeah, I was about to say, when this race started to trend towards what it ended up being a fully green race, what started going through your mind knowing it was turning from full steam ahead with a few cars breaking away to a fuel mileage race?
Well, it was too bad. I mean, the whole 4D Raceware team, everyone went to the back and decided to start from the pits, except, I had the EOL, so it was like the whole 4D Raceware, we were like, all right, we're going to play safe and be at the back, because the practice races were a caution fest. And we seem to be continuing the tradition of when the practice races have lots of cautions, we go green all the way in the actual race. So we should start to learn from this and stop second guessing ourselves, because it seems to be proven true. Yeah, no, when the longer it went, it was the more I realized that me sitting behind people and fuel saving to make sure I made the numbers was going to start paying off. And I just could not believe how much track position I was gaining, or positions. I guess I wasn't gaining track position, but positions I was gaining through the cycles just by staying out and saving fuel.
Well, congratulations on the second place finish tonight, Craig.
Thanks, Justin. Have a good night. Stay safe.
It's Craig Forsyth coming away in second. Third spot of the line went to Big Joe Hassard. And Joe, how would you describe your night racing your way to the Hornet's Nest?
I would describe it as, I don't know how to describe that one. A bunch of guys were playing a bunch of mind games with each other to save fuel. That's how I'd describe it. And it allowed those first few guys to pull away, and we found ourselves racing for positions that weren't for the win. So it was kind of disappointing to see, but you can't force anybody to run away that they're not going to run, or force them to spend fuel they don't want to spend. So it's just the way the fuel worked out. Well, there's a big difference between how much fuel it costs in the lead. It was like a 10-lap difference. So it just, those guys won the first round of pit stops. They got a huge lead and just pulled away. But it was fun.
I was about to say, you did pull away at one point during the run by 1 second during the second run prior to the final pit stops. But
yeah, once I was good, once I decided that I could make my fuel number, I just was like, okay, well, nobody else is going to lead, so I'm going to take it. And I think it probably hurt how hard I could run the last run. But I just wanted to push it and see if I could get any time back, and I don't know. I think my pit stops are a little slower tonight than anybody else's. So any time that I gained by pushing hard, I think I was losing on pit road.
Well, thank you very much for the time, Joe. We'll let you get going. Thank you.
Hey, it was good to finally talk to you guys.
That's Joe Hassard rounding out your top three. I'd like to thank him, Craig Forsyth, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, for taking the time to speak with us here for post-race coverage on RaceSpotted and ESTV. Charlotte Motor Speedway definitely brought some intrigue, with a green flag to checkered race, fuel mileage coming into play, back-to-back first-time winners, but Richmond is on the docket next, a mid-October showdown. Your thoughts, Andrew, as we get ready to visit the action track?
Quick turnaround from a draft track super speedway to a short oval, the shortest oval that we go to in an IndyCar. This 3/4 mile oval in Richmond, it's one of those tracks that if you didn't get any chaos here today, you're definitely going to get some action on that short track. It's one of those tracks that just invites you to make these bold types of moves that can often end in tears. So it's going to be an interesting race to negotiate, and one of our championship contenders has got to find some momentum at Richmond, and it'll be interesting to see which one emerges.
It's getting that October the 17th, 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time. Catch that RaceSpotted TV. But it's time to start making our way towards the darkness. I'd like to take the time to thank the presenting sponsors for Lionheart competition. MOZA Racing is revolutionizing sim racing with the development of industry-leading hardware and software products like their R9 direct drive, wheelbase, and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero delay, wireless technology, and made from high-end materials, MOZA Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane. Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the luxury ultra-comfortable cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. Buttkicker haptic hardware and software, easy to install. Feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. Tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, driving faster and having more fun than ever before. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer. Create the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit www.nextlevelracing.com. Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion, handmade craftsmanship. Drive each made-to-order build. Driving an experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. It's not just those names, but so many more that put in work for the Lionheart Racing Series. To learn more, go to LionheartRacingSeries.com. But on that note, it's time to say goodbye. I'd like to thank you once more for tuning in for tonight's action from iRacing's virtual Charlotte Motor Speedway. For the rest of the crew, for Andrew Kinsella, for Arjuna Kankipati, I'm Justin Prince, saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the Lionheart Speedway Series in the MOZA Racing Charlotte 200. Congratulations to Luis Gonzalez Nunez, your winner from Charlotte.